Dr. Nغوزي, Okonjo, Íويالا, the Director General of WTO. Thank you very much for joining Sky News Arabiya.
Thank you, Lubna.
It has been a very difficult year. WTO cut its forecast for 2026, citing the rising trade tariffs, among other reasons. How worried we should be about this slowdown now?
Well, thank you very much. First, before getting to that, I want to say that this year we forecast for 2025 2.4%, which is better than what we had done in August of 0.9%. And it was due to front loading of goods in the US to get ahead of tariffs and the trade in AI and other issues. Now we're looking at next year and we're seeing that the impacts, first of all, the stockpiles of goods is going to gradually diminish. Tariffs will be hitting consumers, so we're looking at some impact next year.
Which goods?
Well, you know, all kinds of goods that are hit by tariffs. There are so many. I mean, the impact will be being felt, I think, much more next year. So we're looking at that. We're looking at the uncertainty. There's still a lot of uncertainty that is, clouding investment and other decisions. So next year, we are not seeing as bright a prospect for global trade growth as this year. So we forecast 0.5%. But there could be more downside risks on that and upsides also. It's very difficult to forecast with such uncertainty. But if the AI trade continues, there could be upsides and the figure could be better. But if we have more tariffs coming in, it could also be a downside and it could be worse. So we're at 0.5. What does this mean? We are seeing some resilience in the global trading system, but to us at WTO, it means this is a time for us to do reforms, to strengthen the system, to make sure that, we build on that resilience and we don't enter into a period of fragmentation of global trade.
You've mentioned there is appetite for certain goods. Where do you see the strongest appetite today?
Today, we're seeing a lot of appetite in goods related to AI.
Okay.
And I guess it's not surprising. The amount of global investment going into AI is trillions now. So it's tremendous. But it was interesting to see that in the first half of this year, 2025, the 42% of the growth in global goods trade was driven by AI goods. And the other thing I want you to know at the WTO, we also have a wonderful agreement called the Information Technology Agreement that covers $3 trillion worth of the goods that you use, semiconductors and computer equipment and servers, all that at zero tariffs. And I think this is also very good for the trade in AI. So we see a lot of potential in those kinds of goods going forward and in digital trade generally.
Which regions are showing resilience or potential trade expansion?
That's an excellent question, Lubna, because what we are seeing is that South-South trade is growing. So developing countries are trading more amongst themselves. South-South trade is growing at about 8%. That is 4 times the growth of global trade. And South-South trade has gone from 10%, less than 10% of global trade in 1995 to 25% now, and it's growing at 8%. So that is a very bright spot. Why am I happy about it? Because it means that countries are diversifying their trade. They're trying to reach out to other partners, and they're trying to trade, make agreements with non-traditional partners. So that is a bright spot. Green trade. Trade in green goods is also increasing. It's worth almost $2 trillion now.
I'm going to go back to discussing what's happening between the US and China. I think the relation has been under strain, and I think the fears of decoupling are real. How do you see the risk of that on global trade and the global economy? And do you think that they will ever manage to reach a deal that is good for both of them?
I think it's important that President Xi and President Trump are meeting, because this will mean, I hope, a de-escalation of the China-US trade tensions. China-US decoupling is not good for either country, And it's definitely not good for world trade. In fact, we think that if the two decouple and the world fragments into two trading blocks, we will have substantial losses in global GDP, up to 7% in the longer term. And for developing countries, it will be even worse, double-digit losses in global GDP. So we don't want that. So it is very, very important that the two largest economies in the world have a dialogue in which they can come to an accommodation with each other. And I'm very hopeful that they will do so. There's too much at stake to have decoupling. Secretary Scott Bessent said that they don't want decoupling, and we will go on that.
How do you envision the global trade map going forward? New hubs, new alliances, new partnerships?
Well, this is what I think. I mean, given the fact that in spite of the heavy disruptions, 72% of global trade is still going on WTO MFN terms. I think we have a core in the trading system around which new alliances can be built, not in competition with it, but as a complement to it. And what we would like at the WTO is reform that can make us more flexible so that willing coalitions of members can get together and form those alliances within the context of the WTO and make new agreements. Alliances are forming now anyway, and we welcome them. If you look at the content of many of these agreements outside the ones done by the US, you will find that they are based on WTO terms. You know, they are the core bedrock of these agreements are based on the WTO platform. So they are complementary, and we encourage it because we want trade diversification.
Some members say that WTO needs reforms, and it's something you've mentioned yourself. What are the changes you're pushing for?
Well, we are pushing for changes. WTO certainly needs reform. And I always tell people that the criticisms being leveled by the US, some of them, I agree with some, but the US is not the only one leveling criticisms. We also have developing countries who feel the system is not working that well for them. So we need to listen to these criticisms of all the members, and we need to do what reforms? We need reforms that make the organization more flexible, which means that we need to reform the way we make decisions. We have a consensus decision-making system, which is good. The smallest member or country has the same voice as the largest one. However, consensus has become unanimity, meaning that each member also has a veto, and that makes it very difficult to make decisions, to come to agreement. So we need to reform that to make it a more practical way of consensus decision making. Bring flexibility so that, again, members can come together in coalitions and make new agreements quickly. The world is changing very fast. It will not wait for us. The other thing is to look at issues, reforms that build more trust. Trade is about trust. And if some people feel that others have unfair trading practices, they're not being transparent in the way they're handling their trade, then they will not have trust in the system. So we need to make sure that that transparency function works well, and that we look at issues of unfair trade practices.
But how difficult or easy that is to achieve?
It is going to be very difficult. It will not be easy at all. We are working on it now in Geneva. Ambassadors, we have the ambassador of Norway, Ambassador Aalberg, who is working with all ambassadors to get a very focused handle and list on those reforms. We're also talking to the private sector, private business trades, and we want them to say, what do you need to see reform? We want to put together those reforms and put them to ministers at our 14th ministerial meeting in Yaoundé in March. And then ministers should look and debate these reforms and hopefully give their political will and their assent for the work to be done. That we have some time to do the work. They must also set a timeline. None of this will be easy, but we have to do it. And look, in every crisis lies opportunities. For me, I see this as the opportunity for WTO to reform. So we should do it.
We wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
We are in Riyadh, and you have chosen Saudi Arabia to do your 15th ministerial conference in 2028. Tell me why, and what are you hoping to achieve from this meeting?
Actually, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia made a bid, offered, and we are very excited. You know, at the WTO members offer, we're excited because it shows that the kingdom has faith in the WTO. They are going beyond 14th ministerial already to 15. It will be exciting. You know why I'm excited about it? I hope the members will endorse it, because you can see the life and activity happening in Saudi Arabia. Things have changed so much in the kingdom. It's very lively. There are so many things going on, lots of investors, lots of new things. I love the way the economy is being diversified. So these are things that are also good for trade.
Doctor, thank you very much for being with us today.